Hey everyone, and welcome to Comic Breakdown. If you haven't, be sure to like and subscribe to the page. And today we're going to be jumping into Spider-Man NOIR, issue number 1, coming out of Marvel Comics in 2020. So diving into this issue, we're brought to New York City in 1939. This is right on the brink of war with Germany during World War II. And at this time, Spider-Man is thought to be dead or missing because he hasn't been seen in quite a while since he took down a Nazi Zeppelin over the city. So we're brought to Midtown Manhattan, and we're met with Peter Parker in his office. Now, for those who don't know, Peter Parker in this is a private eye. He's a private detective, and he lives by a different kind of motto than the regular Peter Parker Spider-Man you would see. He lives by a motto that's more Punisher themed, and I get undertones of Rorschach in there too from DC Comics. So he's staying in his office and he hears some gunshots go off, and he immediately grabs his mask and jumps out the window. And we see him dive right into action, guns blazing, Colt 45 shooting off, and it seems to be bank robbers hightailing it off of his street. And Spider-Man lands on top of their car, jumping onto the hood, and then unloading bullets into the vehicle. As this is happening, his spider sense goes off and he sees a little girl in the street, and the bank robber's vehicle is about to run the little girl over, and so he swerves it out of the way. And then we cut to a little bit after, and we see the bank robbers getting arrested by the police, and Peter Parker is standing nearby, and he's met with a man named Jameson. Jameson works for the Daily Bugle. He's a reporter, and he tells Peter that the Black Cat Club had been attacked, and so they go over to check it out, see what's up going on, to investigate. Jameson had paid some people off and was able to get them in. That's how they're able to get inside without any of the police having an issue with it. And this is where Peter finds a girl dead, and it's Holly Babson, and he finds a type of jewel on her, or maybe like a brooch. This got some kind of insect, presumably a beetle. So Peter thinks he's found his first clue to why these people might be dead inside the club. And this is where we find Spider-Man perched on top of the city, and he's really contemplating everything that's going on and how small of an impact he's really doing. He's chasing bank robbers while, people are getting murdered in clubs, and the world is on the brink of war. America is on the brink of war, and he feels like he's helpless. He can't do anything to change what's happening. And then we cut to Aunt May and Mary Jane and Peter Parker having dinner. And as Peter starts talking to Mary Jane about Holly Babson, the girl that had died at the club, Mary says that she knows the woman and they were actually relatively close. That the girl was supposed to be getting a job at the Black Cat, but they weren't hiring and they were all full up. And this is when Radio New York City's True Crime Hour starts. It's a radio broadcast that pretty much everybody in the city listens to. And it talks about the tensions rising in the Atlantic, but New York waging the war on crime, and New York's determination to close the books on what happened at the Black Cat Club. And then Peter Parker brings us to a library, and he's doing research on what this thing could be. What this brooch or necklace, like where its origins come from, is it valuable? And he finds out that it's a cicada and possibly Babylonian. And before he's able to do too much in-depth research into the book that he found, the lights go out. And then the bookshelves around him and the bookkeeper fall almost on top of them, but Peter's able to get them to safety. But in doing so, the page that he was reading was ripped from the book. And so Peter goes and chases after her, but loses her within the crowd. Thinking that he had lost all clues or leads, he sees a giant banner that says Twilight in Babylonian, and it's going to be essentially an exhibit at the Museum of Art. And so, of course, that's where Peter Parker's going to go. So we pick up at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and he's looking for the curator, and the curator hasn't shown up. He was supposed to show up from Germany 3 days prior. And this is where he's introduced to Dr. Bergman. And he shows the cicada necklace to the doctor, and the doctor confirms that it belonged to her sister who went by the alias of Holly Babson, but her real name was Helga Bergman. And so Peter lets her know that her sister died, and she, of course, is tremendously struck by this news. And so they go to a coffee shop and they discuss the necklace and her sister. And the doctor lets him know that the cicada stone dates back to 600 AD, and the doctor was going to be carrying it by hand from Berlin. So now we're stuck with the mystery of how it wound up in the sister's hand, and where is this missing doctor at? And the doctor is pretty persistent on wanting him to help contribute to finding out, solve this case. And he's really reluctant. He doesn't want to. And he tells her, like, I can't. I have to take care of New York City, the 5 boroughs. Like, this is where I need to be. And she says, well, if you change your mind, you can show up at White Plains Airfield at 7. And so none of this is adding up to Peter. He's trying to figure out what's going on, because there was a now hiring sign outside of the club, which goes against the evidence that he's been told thus far. You know, how much trouble was this girl in? What got her killed? How'd she end up with a 1,300-year-old rock? You know, so many questions unanswered. And as he gets back into his neighborhood, he's met with MJ again. And as he turns to greet her, there's a shadow behind her, and he tells her to duck. And MJ turns and bashes the guy in the face. He seemed to be some kind of photographer because he was flashing, carrying a camera. And as they start to head up towards the house to Aunt May, Peter hits him with his webs, knocks him clean down, and they take off running. Unsure of who they are, they're trying to figure out all that's going on. Maybe it had something to do with Holly's death or something of that nature. And Peter goes to tell him, like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to involve myself in it. And they tell him that he should. Like, this is your responsibility. And so we arrive at the airfield the next morning, 7 o'clock on the dot. Peter arrives, and they board into the plane, and she hands him a dossier of all the information that she has up to this point about the doctor, about the stone, any possible leads that could be going to help solve this murder. And so they take off to London. And that will be the end of this issue. Let me know what you guys think. I am really loving this. I have always enjoyed Spider-Man Noir since it came out back in 2009. I'm really loving this take. It's a whole new story going in a whole new direction. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Be sure to like and sub to the page. And until the next video.